We're taking a look at the top free agents in the NFL this offseason. An intriguing offseason is ahead for Sam Darnold. Colt, how much of the success this season was Darnold versus the offense that he was in and the coach that he had?
Yeah, I think it was a combination of both, but you got to give Sam Darnold a ton of credit. I mean, listen, the guy's played a bunch at the Jets, kind of bounced around. Kevin had to see something in Sam Darnold to say, hey, dude, come over here. Like, I'm going to give you a chance. Like, he believed in him. The things that stuck out to me about Sam Darnold this year, I've liked him as a quarterback for a long time. He's a top 5 pick. He's a tough football player. He'll fight for yards at times. He's mobile enough to make a few first downs here and there. He has experience in a ton of different systems. He landed in Minnesota. He got an opportunity because McCarthy got hurt. Who knows? He may have been the starter regardless. He dominated. He found ways to get Justin Jefferson the football, Jordan Addison the football, TJ Hawkinson the ball. Like, he executed that system at a high level. They won games that they weren't supposed to win because he played good. He went out there and won 14 games in the NFL. We all know how hard it is to win football games in the NFL. I don't care how talented your team is. And the last thing I would say is just, it really felt like the guys around him loved him. That shows you kind of the guy that he is, the leader that he is in the locker room, his ability to relate to everybody, to come in and learn the system and lead a football team that way, that nobody really expected to win more than 10 games in the NFC North that was pretty dominant all year long. Those are a few things that I like about him. I certainly think there'll be a market for him. It kind of caved late in the year, those last couple games. You know, when Minnesota kind of had everything to play for, regardless of what happens, whether Minnesota brings him back or he hits free agency, his time in Minnesota was valuable for that organization and also for him. He became a much better quarterback and proved himself. And I think it'll be a really intriguing offseason for Sam Darnold.
There's no doubt he made himself some money. But as you mentioned, those last 2 games, the Lions, then against the Rams in the playoffs, things kind of fell off and he didn't look as good. AQ, how confident are you going into next year, giving him that kind of money that it was more Sam Darnold and not all just the team around him?
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, when you look at his body of work, again, we talked about that. Colt just mentioned it. To win 14 games in a season is incredible. I think KOC deserves a lot of credit as well. It seems to be every single quarterback he gets his hands on seems to have success in what he's been able to do. I thought his playoff loss was atrocious. I mean, I understand there was a lot of pressure and
Detroit. They like the back-to-back was tough.
But I think even more so in the playoffs, the fact that there wasn't a clean pocket most of the night, and he's sitting there. It's like, have some awareness, throw the football away, live to fight another day. But we watched him over and over again see this, get his eyes down, see the rush, take sacks, and it happened to be a monumental night for the LA Rams defense, as we know. But I think there's so many people talking since those 2 games of saying that this is a guy that you can win games with. This is not a guy you can win championships with. When you are spending money and the amount of money that quarterbacks are costing teams these days, you have to be able to have full tilt faith that the guy that you're going to give that contract to is going to win you a championship. I hope this is no disrespect, but at the end of the day, I think he falls in line with that Baker Mayfield and Geno Smith type of deal, where it's somewhere in that 3 for 80 to 120, somewhere in that realm, where it's like, okay, this is a bridge guy. This is a bridge guy. We'll see what he can give us, but we're not fully invested. And I think that's ultimately what you're going to end up seeing from him. And it might be from Minnesota. It might be from somebody else.
All right, a little bridge guy. Jay, Dave talked about some of the strengths, some of the weaknesses. What do you like in Darnold's game? What does he need to improve on? I'm Sam Darnold. You're sitting me down in Washington right now, and you're trying to help me break down my game as the coach and guy looking to bring me in. What are you saying to Sam he needs to work on?
He's a slow twitch quarterback, and that bothers me. I think that he doesn't have a lot of quick twitch to get away from trouble, get the ball out of his hands. He holds the ball too long. He sticks on receivers too long. He just doesn't have the awareness within the pocket to make something happen when things are not clean. Pocket. That's a problem because, wherever he's going to go, he's going to have some dirty pockets. If everything's clean and it's a 3-step drop, he can throw it out there easy, man. It's a 5-step drop, timing, throw, rhythm, pop, pop, bang. He can do that. There's no doubt about it. I like his game in that regard. But unfortunately, it's not always going to be a clean pocket, hence the LA Rams, hence the Detroit Lions, where he couldn't make anything happen. And that's a tough pill to swallow when you're talking about going out and investing a lot of money in a quarterback. Well, everything's got to be right. And he's going to be great. But if things aren't perfect, he's not going to make a lot of things happen. That's the issue I have with Sam. He's a damn good player, but I don't know if I'd be willing to, if I was a new coach or an organization, to go out and invest a ton of money in Sam. I'd almost wait till the draft or see what else I could get. personally. That's just me.
Well, I love the clean pocket references by AQ and Jay there. I actually like the dirty pocket too. When we're talking smack on somebody, we maybe just throw out, it's like brought to you by the dirty pocket boys. I don't know. It sounds a little messed up. All right, let's get right into it. I'll stop talking about it. Let's go out and look at a few teams that would be a good fit for Sam Darnold. Doesn't have to be where you think he ends up, just where you think he might be a good fit. And Colt, I'm going to start with you on that one.
I think the Cleveland Browns are going to make a run at Sam Darnold. Listen,
God, nothing will make me happier.
If Deshaun Watson is down, right? He probably not. I mean, I don't know his whole situation, but I think Sam Darnold, I don't know if he would go there, but that would be a bit. Throwing to Jerry Jeudy, you got Njoku. They need to add some pieces there on offense, but they got a pretty decent offensive line. He's a plug and play guy. I think he would learn that system pretty quickly. He showed that he could do that in multiple stops. I just think that could be a fit, and that could be something that's stable for the Browns organization. Who knows? We'll see.
Well, I'm looking at the draft chart, right? You got Tennessee Titans 1, Cleveland 2, Giants 3. It seems like all three of those franchises need a quarterback. And we look at what Atlanta did. We look at what Minnesota did this last year, signing Sam and also drafting JJ. AQ, how do you feel about taking multiple shots at it, signing a guy like Sam Darnold if you're Cleveland, but also maybe would you still draft one or would you go elsewhere?
The fact that Cleveland's even getting brought up right now, your boy has done quite a masterful job with the quarterback situation over there. Contract situation's quite a shit show.
Can they even afford to pay a quarterback, right? I feel like Kirk Cousins makes more sense there.
Yeah, I don't think so. And so as I was going through this, two teams jumped out at me. Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah.
I think the Pittsburgh Steelers would be a good fit for him. It's a place where you're going to rely on the run game, play good defense, and you're only going to ask him to sit there and, maybe throw a drop back pass, 15 times a game. And a lot of that might even be chip help or move pocket or whatever it may be. But one other thing, I think, New Orleans Saints. They are in cap hell. Derek Carr has kind of run his course almost everywhere he's been. I'm about done with him. Let's move on there. And so I think this could be a nice little bridge guy.
This is a quick dirty pocket segment here brought to you by AQ Shipley.
All right. But now you get him down there. You got Kellen Moore, offensive coordinator. It's a guy who's really, really smart in what he's been able to do, and he's been accomplished everywhere he's pretty much been. Good scheme guy, nice creativity, does some things, puts quarterbacks and the guys in good position to win. Very much like his old situation over there in Minnesota. So that's why I look at those two situations.
All right, I like it. Jay.
I look at the Raiders. Number one, Aiden O'Connell, Gardner Minshew's coming off an injury. They need a quarterback bad. Love seeing to package Sam Darnold, T. Higgins. That'd be a hell of a free agent weekend for the Raiders if they could do that. I like the Raiders. Possibility. The Giants got to think about if the Giants were to get them, then they could use that number 3 pick that they have in a draft to maybe get Travis Hunter, maybe get the pass rusher from AQ Shipley School from Penn State. You know what I mean? There's some options they could have there with the 3rd pick in a draft instead of holding their, the weight on Cam Ward to drop or Shedeur Sanders. So I think the Giants and the Raiders for me are the two obvious ones.
I'm right there with you, Jay. I think both of those make a ton of sense. You look at the Raiders; they're drafting later in that first round. They're the 6th overall. Odds are one of those top 2 quarterbacks are not going to be there. And then you look at the Giants. I very well could see this draft going, Shedeur, Cam 1 and 2, and the Giants are sitting there. People are starting to talk about Jackson Dart and some of these other names that are out there. I don't like trying to reach for a position, especially when a guy is getting a later grade. I think Sam Darnold will be a very good fit for the Giants depending on how the draft shakes out. So obviously I know those two don't happen at the exact same time, but I think both those teams make a lot of sense, Jay, there.
I mean, in what scenario does he go back to Minnesota?
I think there's a good chance that happens, especially with J.J. McCarthy not really getting a lot of reps throughout the year with his injury. I mean, J.J. McCarthy is a hell of a college quarterback, but he didn't do a lot at Michigan. And then he didn't do a whole lot this past year with the Vikings because he was injured. So there's a lot of unknowns with J.J. McCarthy. So I think there's a really good chance he signs with Minnesota.
Jay, I got a question for you. All right. So I had a former coach of mine say this to me one time who'd been in some places that made some misses in the first round. Tell me if you agree with this, because a lot of these teams, obviously in the top 10 picks, are going to be drafting a quarterback probably for a second time within a 10-year span, right? He said that if you miss on a first-round pick, it sets your organization back 5 years. If you miss on a first-round quarterback, it sets it back 10. Speaking specifically of the Giants, would you agree with that?
Yeah, it's not far off. I'll tell you that right now. It's a very difficult position to find. Obviously, when you miss on him with a high draft pick, and obviously you got to commit to him for a certain amount of time. And if he fails, and it does set you back, there's no question about it. So the problem is a lot of people stay married to their guy for too long. You got to make that decision. Unfortunately, quarterbacks take a lot of time to develop. But if you can see sooner than later that he's not the guy for your franchise, you made a mistake, you can move on quicker instead of being married to him for 5 years and like, holy cow. It'll set you back.
Well, a lot of times these GMs, if you look at it, these quarterbacks are personally tied to their careers as well. It's like, hey, you're going to make your bed with this quarterback and now you got to lay with them. And you see a lot of times the GMs get fired because they make the wrong decision at quarterback. I am now becoming a fan of the approach of just throw darts to the dartboard. I like what Atlanta did. Yes, it looked bad at the time, but now they finally figured out, hey, Kirk wasn't playing up to snuff. We bring in Michael Penix Jr. Now we found a quarterback we feel good about going forward. We've all named teams that we like Sam Darnold to go to. If you had to put your money on the line right now, what jersey is he wearing next year?
I mean, I was thinking a little bit outside of the box, with the Browns. I still think that makes sense. I think the Raiders have a ton of cap space. If not, staying at Minnesota. I mean, I think there'll be some people come after them that we haven't talked about. Browns, I'm leaning there. I just think that's a good fit.
I just don't know if they can afford him with that crazy Deshaun contract. I think Kirk makes the most sense there, or a rookie quarterback. All right, AQ, you've heard everyone's case. We all made great cases for where we think he's going to go. Who sold you, or did you sell yourself?
You have no idea what salary cap gymnastics is about to happen in the next 2 months and how many guys are going to get cut and moved and whatever else, right? And so from that standpoint, we're just, what'd you say earlier? Throwing darts at a board? That's what we're doing right now. And so when we say that, I'm going back to New Orleans Saints. Again, I think that this is me just going off of they have to fix their salary cap issues. They got to fix it quick. They went and got their guy in Kellen Moore. So I think starting with they have to cut Derek Carr before March, 10th or whatever, to avoid paying him their $10 million. You can do that as a post-June 1st designation. They're probably going to have to figure out how to, dump some contracts of an aging Cam Jordan, maybe an aging Tyrann Mathieu, maybe an aging somebody else, right? And now you all of a sudden got some money, but you don't have enough money to go get your franchise quarterback. That's where this bridge guy comes in. Sam Darnold, New Orleans Saints.
Jay, who you got? Where's he going to be? I
got the Raiders. I just think that they got to have some kind of steady presence at the quarterback position to compete in that AFC West. So Bo Nix is stable at Denver. Obviously, Justin Herbert. Obviously, Patrick Mahomes. They got to have somebody that can compete with those guys in that division. They can't wait for the draft at number 8. I don't think anybody will be there. So, Raiders make the most sense to me. They can build their team around them and they can compete. They know Sam Darnold won a lot of games last year. They know right now, at least we got a guy that can compete with these other teams and these other quarterbacks in the National Football League in our division.
I'm going to go with the Raiders as well. And if you want a steadying presence, guys, we are that. We're doing a lot of content around this. So drop the follow, drop the subscribe. Where do you think Sam Darnold's going to end up next year?
I actually would love to see the Giants, personally. I think the Giants would be the most, because Brian Day, he's got to be on his last year, right? I'm going to go out and get Sam Darnold, and I'm going to take Travis Hunter or the top prospect at another position, maybe a tackle, the best tackle from LSU, whoever it might be, and really surround him a little bit better, because there's no guarantee that Cam Ward or Shador is going to be there at 3. Now you're really now you're panicking. Now you got your quarterback. Now we can draft somebody else, a starting tackle, a pass rusher, a wide receiver, corner, whoever it might be. I think the Giants, to me, if I was Brian Dable, I'd go after him hard.
And that makes a ton of sense, too. I mean, everyone's talking about Arch Manning, Colt McCoy, Texas legend. A lot of the Giants fans are saying, go get Sam Darnold and then get Arch Manning next year. He might be making so much money in NIL, he might not even come out next year, huh, Colt?
These Texas quarterbacks are kind of overrated.
Yeah, come on, stop it. I mean, I want to throw out one more. I want to throw out one more that just kind of hit my brain as we were talking. I've already thrown my long shot Cleveland Browns, given my reason why. What about the Indianapolis Colts?
Anthony Richardson. Oh, wow. AQ's repping.
Quarterbacks need a long time to develop, especially a guy who only played 13 or 14 games coming into the NFL. But the Colts have a good football team, and they're well coached. And Flacco played a bunch. I can't imagine them bringing Flacco back again. Like that doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
I actually had the Colts written down. That's not a bad, far-fetched call at all, because the Colts do have a decent football team, and maybe Shane's like, we can bring in Anthony Richardson from time to time, but let's have a quarterback that has won a lot of games, a little bit more experience, and then we'll bring Anthony along, and if it doesn't work out, then his rookie contract will be up, and it doesn't cost a lot.
See, this is exactly why I photoshopped you two riding a motorcycle, wearing a Texas Longhorn or a Texas hat.
I don't know that the Colts are sold on Anthony Richardson. Like, I mean, that's
Is
funny.
anyone sold on Anthony Richardson? You want my honest opinion? No.
If that's the case, then the Colts make a ton of sense. Like Shane Steichen has an outstanding offense. They got some, Pittman. They got some guys. They got Jonathan Taylor back there. They got a good offensive line. Like let Anthony Richardson learn a little bit. It's not like you got to kick him to the curb and trade him or move on from him. But like he can learn from a guy like Sam who's played a bunch. I think it could be a fit.
If you are a talented quarterback, you are going to have a ton of options. Sam Darnold is going to have the Brinks truck backing up to him because there's not a lot of guys out there. We literally have named half the NFL and how he would be a good fit on them. So that's the beauty of the position, because you can't win without a quarterback. I mean, I guess, I don't know. AQ and Colt, do you have anything you want to say about Jalen Hurts? Because apparently, I don't know.
Easy. I've caught so much heat this year. Like Jalen Hurts is solid quarterback, dude. He played outstanding in the Super Bowl.
Now he's backpedaling, Jay. Now he's backpedaling.
No, I'm not backpedaling at all.
Teeter-totter. It's okay, Cole.
The Eagles are one of the best football teams that, structure. You're talking about
you guys
how
didn't even have them in the top 10 best players on the field. I mean, you guys.
I admit that I messed that up. I messed that up. I did text that to you, right, Jay?
Yeah, sure.
In football, every game means more during the playoffs, and you can start your own personal playoffs on Underdog, where you could cash in on touchdowns, interceptions, yards, or more. All you have to do is pick higher or lower, and you could take home up to 1,000 times your money if you get your picks right. It's that simple. Millions of fans have already won billions of dollars making picks. Sign up for Underdog today using promo code POCKET, capital POCKET, and you'll get a free pick as a part of your first cash entry, plus up to $1,000 in bonus cash when you deposit. Again, that's promo code POCKET.